Okay, Wendy, the recording is in process. Today is January the 27th, the year 2024. Wendy, last time we were
Yep.
on, Nick Saban had just retired. The state and the Alabama nation was in a state of probably confusion, maybe. I don't know, so confused or what did
Depressed.
it
Wait.
depressed? Was it set in? What's going on? So we go through all this stuff, Wendy. Now we've gotten a couple of weeks away from it. Hopefully, in this episode here, we're going to get Mike to join us. Now, anybody that's listened to this knows Mike. Mike is a hard charger.
Yeah.
He is going to come in. So we're going to talk about a few things first, and then we're going to get to Mike. Wendy, how are you doing? What's going on? Lay it on the line. Like, just what have you been up to? Let's go. It's been a couple of weeks.
Listen, all I have
What's
to
up?
talk about, is Alabama football because it's all I've thought about since Nick Saban decided that he was just gonna retire. So I mean, I think Trey, the big thing is for me is that we got a coach. You know, we're through first couple of weeks, you know, of not having a coach. What's he going to be able to do? Do the players like him? And I think that's what'll be interesting to talk about today. How do we feel, you know, right now going into this new season with this brand new coach? You know what I mean?
How does it make you feel? Okay, Wendy, let's do this real quick because we're going to wait on Mike, but let's do this real quick. So I want to talk about the weather around here in Birmingham. Number one, in Birmingham, the past couple of weeks, it has been really cold. This past week, it has done nothing but rain.
Right.
Wendy, I know you're in Knoxville, Tennessee. But tell me about the weather up there. Were y'all stuck in your house for like a week and a half? What happened?
So we get the weather report a couple weeks out. They tell us, you know, we're going to get 4 to 6 inches of snow. Well, we did, but we got about 9 inches of snow here in Knoxville, Tennessee. So remember, we're just about 45 minutes from the mountains, but we are in the valley. We do not see a lot of snow down here. I can drive to snow, but you don't get a lot of snow down here. So it's not like we've got preparations for this stuff. So everybody goes to the store, buys out the milk, buys out the bread. And Trey, we absolutely all got snowed in. The whole city of
Whoa.
Knoxville got locked down. I mean, the whole city of Knoxville. School just went back this past Thursday, 2 days ago. They just went
Put the
back.
whole town on lockdown.
But you know, we had food. The power never went out. Thank you, TVA. Great job, TVA, for keeping the power on. So Trey, I mean, it really, for me, being a stay-at-home mom, it didn't really affect anything. But it was beautiful. It was beautiful. But our mother lives on a hill, like so, y'all to get in her neighborhood, it goes straight up. She could not get out. Like, so when I could get out because I was closer to the main road, mom was stuck for almost 7 days. She couldn't get down that hill.
Unbelievable. And here's what's funny. If this rain that we had this week would have come in last week, we would have had a bunch of snow. Wendy, let me tell you something. It was literally about 12 hours. We're in Birmingham. It was about 12 hours where the roads were impassable. But after that, everything kind of melted off. And it was kind of a non-event.
Right.
And what's funny about where we're living in Birmingham, it's like, because I check the weather. I love looking at the weather, what's going on with it. There's something to do, you know. And we've had all these events
Right.
that are coming up, and it's like they all end up not being anything. It's like one day
Right.
we're supposed to have a windstorm. Well, yeah, the wind picked up for 10 minutes, and the kids are out of school. It's supposed to snow. Yeah, it snowed
Yep.
for 10 minutes, and nothing really happened. You know, it's just like I don't know the weather, man.
Well, but you have to
I think they're
understand
blowing this out of proportion.
what y'all got was like right below us. So you got like the
Yeah,
tail end of what we got. We didn't
yeah.
get above 20 degrees for 6 days. So there was nowhere for the ice to go. We were about 4 inches of ice kind of packed in over the snow. So even though it stopped snowing, we just couldn't get anywhere because it was so dang cold outside. It stayed below 20 degrees for 7 days up here.
Wendy,
Freezing.
what did you do? Seriously,
Literally
what did you
nothing.
do all day? But
I
what did
watched
you do
Vamp.
all day long?
Okay, okay. I'm gonna tell everybody. I watched Vampire Diaries because it's my favorite show. That's exactly what I did. I watched
Because
VPD literally all week.
is there that many What is it? V
I
Vampire
call
Diaries?
it Yeah, it's supposed to be VD, but I don't do that because vampire is 2 syllables. So Vampire Diaries. So I do VPD. So there's 8 seasons. And yes, Trey, it's my favorite show. I've watched it like 17 times. So that's what I do. In weather events, I watch Vampire Diaries.
Yeah,
The only
that's a
other thing I
lot
could
of
think of to do was watch like the Pat McPhee show or Paul Feinbaum, but all these people keep calling, blasting us, and I get so mad and worked up, and my blood pressure goes up. So I can't
Yeah.
watch anything like that right now. Because here's the thing, for a week and a half, the pundits were on us. Alabama's nothing. Alabama's nothing. And as an Alabama fan, I've got to sit here and listen to that. And then I buy into it. And then I'm like, well, maybe we aren't going to be anything. Like, you know what I mean? I only had 2 options, sports or Vampire Diaries. I went with Vampire Diaries.
Vampire Diaries it is. All right, Wendy, let's see if we can I'm going to see if we can get Mike in here. It looks like he's in the waiting room. I mean,
I don't know
like it looks like he's in here. So let me see what we can do. Let me see if I admit him if he comes in. Let's see what happens. We're admitting him now. I think Mike lives in
there's Mike.
Okay. There is a picture of Mike.
Yep. Now he's just got to connect to his audio.
We're not sure. We're not sure. Let me see. Let me hit this button here. So, Mike, if anybody's listened, like I said earlier in the show, if anybody's listened to the show, they understand. You understand that Mike is a part of this big text thread, this Alabama football text thread, and Mike always spices things up. Let's see if we can get him in here. I don't know. We've kind of bounced around this morning with him. Communication hadn't been very good, to be honest with you, but we'll see if we can get him in here. But Wendy, listen, we were out of school. We did a bunch of other stuff, and you really end up getting bored.
Right. Oh yeah.
At some point. All right, here we go. We got him.
What's up?
Ladies,
What's up?
What's going on, Mike?
How's it going, Wendy?
No, hey man, I'm glad you're here. Now we can start talking about interesting things.
Let's talk about it. What's going on? I mean, I've been privy to what y'all doing so far, but I'm ready to get it going.
Heck yeah.
All right. So Mike, all we've been talking about so far is getting snowed in. Wendy lives in Knoxville. She snowed in for a week. I live in Birmingham. Nothing really happened down here. It seems like the weatherman down here makes a big deal of a bunch of stuff and nothing ever really happened. So that's all we've really been talking about. Where do you live? What's your
Man, I live just outside Boulder, Colorado, and let me tell you, I got a bunch of friends back home, and we didn't get nothing y'all got. I heard everybody been, like locked in for a week and not been able to go to the store, do nothing. Yep. So it's crazy. But I remember that being back there, and like if you get an inch of dusting, the whole place shuts down. So
absolutely,
that's how it goes.
Yeah. So Mike, let's go. I've already kind of prefaced with you're the hard charger. You could prove me wrong, but you're the hard charger in these. We wanted to get you on. And listen, now we're talking about Saban. Last time we were on here, Saban had just retired. We didn't know who the coach was going to be. Now we get the new coach, Kalen DeBoer. And I need your thoughts, Wendy's thoughts. We'll start with you, Mike. What are your thoughts? Tell me what you're thinking.
I mean, I think like everybody else, it was a big shock when we heard it. It was almost it hurt. I mean, it hurt. But at the same time, you had to just thank the man. I said, look, he when Saban did what he did, he could have went anywhere, and done what he did, and he chose Alabama, and I will forever be grateful for that. So, and I didn't expect him to be there as long as he was. And I think we've talked about it, or you guys have talked about it on the show. When I was at school in Tuscaloosa, we were terrible.
Terrible.
So, I mean, I was there and the Mike Price years and all those guys. So it was, it hurt. And so to have that, I was always just a gracious Alabama fan. I don't know if you guys know, my wife went to Georgia, so my house sucks sometimes, but this year it was good. But, I mean, so I'm a very humble Alabama fan as a result of that. But when he left, I was just grateful that he chose to do what he did with us, because he could have done it anywhere, he could have done it anywhere. And so when the search went out, I had 3 guys on my mind that I thought would have been happy, and DeBoer was the third. I mean, I would have been happy. I think Oregon was everybody's first choice, right? Kiffin, I think everybody would have with because of his offensive mind. And DeBoer came in, and my big question mark with him was, how's he going to fit, like fundamentally, like in terms of like his, the culture of that program. How's that going to work? That was my big question mark. And the more I've learned about this dude, and I think we're starting now to see the fruits of this labor start come through, like Ryan Williams coming back and some of these other things. I think that we nailed it. I mean, if you look back when when they hired Gene, it was between Gene and Bobby Bowden. So if we would have took Bobby Bowden, God Almighty, it would have been just a straight trucking, But
right.
I think we did all right, and I mean, I think we're going to kind of pick up. I'm going to give them 2-3 years, and I'm expecting big things. I think we're going to be. I think we're going to be in the playoff next year. I'm not expecting to win it all, but I think we're going to be great. I think we're fine. I think it's a great hire. I think it's a great hire.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, you brought up some really good points, and a couple of quick questions though. So, and I know this is going to jump to the point because I agree with you. The only thing I disagree with anybody about with the Alabama coaching job was the Kiffin hire. Kiffin, I know he's got a good offensive mind, but Kiffin is like the crazy uncle that you love to hear his stories, but it's not like you really want to live with the guy. Like, you don't want to wake up every day with this crazy son of a gun doing crazy stuff, but it is great to listen to these stories. That's my only thing with that. I think, DeBoer, you're right. He is probably the best hire. The culture fit is going to be interesting. I know what will kind of curb the cultural stuff, and that is winning football games. I mean, if you win football games, and you want us to eat something else, we'll eat something else as long as we're winning football games. Let me just get with you, Mike, real quick on this, and Wendy, I want to hear your reaction to this too. You've got this guy that's got an offense that this quarterback has to throw the football, and he is used to a Michael Penix Jr. out at Washington, which I think was very, very advanced in changing plays, understanding what's going on. I love Jalen Milroe. I think he's a great guy, great quarterback, great story. Does Milroe have what it takes to do this thing with DeBoer? Wendy, let's start with you, and then we'll go to Mike.
No. So here's my issue. Here's when I got calmed down and realized that I wanted to coach like Lanning or Sarkisian, because that was kind of my two that I really wanted to get. Well, then I figured out this guy that we hired's beat both of them. This guy we've hired, he beat Texas in the national championship or the semi. Mike, I'm going to go ahead and preference with, I get a lot of stuff wrong because I get so excited. So I'm very sorry.
Oh, I watch, I know.
Okay, good. So, Trey, you got to understand. So he goes and beats Sarkisian, right? He beat Oregon twice when the media wrote him off both times this past year. So, I do believe we got the best guy. But here's our problem. I do not feel that Milroe at all fits into what he does. Also, remember, Penix Jr. is 36 years old. He's a grown man. He's been doing it 6-7 years, Trey. There's a big difference in a 19-year-old throwing a football and a 24-year-old throwing the football that's been running around college campuses for 8 years, it feels like. So am I concerned about that? Yes. Because Milroe only wants to throw the ball. When he says, I really just want to throw, and he didn't really commit to using his legs the first half of the season. I think Milroe only works if he can do both. I don't think he can be just a straight throwing quarterback like a Bryce Young or a Tua. He's a Jalen Hurts. That's what he is to me. Mike, what do you think?
He's not a pocket passer for sure. I think him sticking around the leadership that you're going to get there, you can't buy that, right? So I think in terms of the transition, I think it's beautiful that he's going to stay. To rewind a little bit, I think that we got, he brought Grubbs over, his OC from Washington, which is huge for us. Huge. I think you're going to see now a lot of these, skill players come over to Alabama that weren't. Ryan Williams again, right? He checked out and he goes, I'm sitting there looking at, some of these guys that are leaving. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, if I'm a wide receiver, this is the offense I want to play in. I think you're right. I think Milroe's going to be there for a year. He brought another dude over. He got another quarterback from Washington. And I think this guy knows talent. You know what I mean? I mean, he was able to see Penix and get him to go from Indiana back over to Washington. Like, who's scouting Indiana, right?
Right.
So I think this guy has an eye, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to do. I think he knows the portal, but I agree with you. I think Monroe's going to be there for a year. I think we're in the playoff next year. Am I expecting big things? No, it's a transition year, but it'll be interesting to see how Monroe's going to fit into that offense for sure.
Well, and I'm going to go ahead and bring this up. So my only big worry with the hire was defense. I'm excited about this guy coming from South Alabama, right? But I'm a defense chick. Like, I'm a defense girl. I want defense. I want my defense to play well. Said it multiple times last season. If our defense doesn't score, we're not going to win some of these games. We need these types of turnovers when you're playing in the SEC. So am I slightly concerned on the defensive front? Because if you go back and look at all of his games he played last year that he won, Trey, these teams playing against him are scoring 20, 30 points. These aren't blowout wins 45-7. It's 52-35. Y'all see where I'm going with that?
Well,
that won't translate against Georgia, LSU, Auburn's, Tennessee's, Texas, maybe Oklahoma. Don't know till I see a little bit more. Texas A&M. That's not going to translate, Trey, with some of these SEC teams that we have to play every year.
Well, real quick on that, Wendy, and the thing I'm excited about, as you call him, Harbaugh.
Right.
Harbaugh's leaving.
Right.
I'm hoping that when this portal opens back up in April, he comes in and robs that cabinet on, because that defense was sick this year. That Michigan defense was sick.
Agreed.
So I would like to see some of them dudes come on over back to Tuscaloosa.
Yep.
Yeah. And, well, y'all bring up a good point, but it leads to another good point on the defensive side of the ball. We had the defense in place, and then all of a sudden Saban leaves, and then we have all of our guys leave. The Caleb Downs leaves. Everybody thinks he's going to Georgia. He goes to Ohio State. What's the guy that always came in? Amos.
Yeah, Amos.
He goes to, Amos was going to be a starter, no doubt. He goes over to Ole Miss.
Lawson stayed. You know,
Lawson stayed.
That's a big keeper.
Yeah, Lawson did stay, but I mean, if you look at those four people in the back, they're all gone, either the NFL or whatever. So he's got some big shoes to fill. He's got a new defensive coordinator. He's going to have a new style. So, Wendy, you're probably right. The offensive side of the ball might be good, but the defensive side might be a little shaky. Hopefully, we can get some other players in here. Y'all, listen, I want to talk about a couple of things, and that is the portal. We have mass exodus from Alabama. We have but in turn, we have y'all's favorite coach. I guess it's everybody's favorite coach.
Kiffin.
The crazy Uncle Kiffin.
Right. Let me tell you something about Kiffin. Kiffin brings the spirit back. Like, he gets us all. He makes me want to bang my head into a wall before a game. Saban doesn't do that. Saban, we're a little bit classier, right? Kiffin makes me feel like kind of an old school redneck. Like, I want to throw something up in the air. Do y'all remember when Saban would go crazy?
Yes.
And all of us go crazy, right? Now he's gotten older and nobody even stands up in the stands. I thought Kiffin would be good for the energy of the program, like the youngness, get everybody back pumped up.
But he's a wild card, right? I mean, I get that.
Yes.
Look, he's got great hair.
He does.
Start off with that. The ladies
he's
love
younger.
Him. Yeah, the younger guy. He's not a Trump or a Biden.
Right.
And, and look, I think, but at the end of the day, I think with what we got, it's obviously more safe. Now that guy knows the portal. He's shown it. He's recruited the hell out of it. But you got to think about this. Like when DeBoer showed up at Washington, what were they, 4-8? And in 2 years, he got him to a national championship, and he did that through the portal. I'm stoked on that. I'm super excited. So.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I think that's the other point with Washington. They had to win some games, because understand this: if Washington does not win that game out there, beat Oregon twice, if they do not win that game, then probably they let Florida State in and they're out.
That's right.
There's no wiggle room out there, and they didn't need any wiggle room, and they get into the deal and beat Texas, like you said earlier. All right, y'all. So I've kind of bounced through some of the things that I wanted to talk about. What do y'all want to talk about? Do y'all have anything that's been on your mind? I know, Mike, you've listened to the show or you've watched the show. What's been your kind of experience watching the show?
I mean, I gotta say, I gotta enjoy Wendy. I feel like I'm kind of meeting a celebrity, like sitting here talking to Wendy. Just because she's just all over the place. So I think our common thread here is Nacho or Chris Arnold. And I call Chris. I'm like, dude, is she really like that? Yeah. And he's like, oh, she's calmed down. You should have seen her in high school. She was real wild.
Wild, wild,
But
wild,
I just
wild.
enjoy y'all's take on things. I think it's a real just down home flavor of like what I'm looking for. I mean, I think we all grew up listening to Paul back on the radio, and now that he's on ESPN, it's kind of,
Yeah,
he's got the same dudes calling for 20 years.
I know.
Um, I mean, I remember when, I was on the radio driving from Nashville back to Birmingham when I heard old boy calling about poisoning the oaks down in Auburn. But
Yep.
I like this. I think it's a new, fresh take, and y'all are fun to watch, and y'all it's just fun to hear what you guys got to say. So I really enjoy it.
Well,
Yeah.
I think what we tried to do is, so this was all me. I love football. So I love college football. And I know I get names wrong in stats and defense. I know, but I actually do. I do know. Harbaugh. I get all the names wrong, but I do love the sport, right? But my favorite long-term thing that I've done is I kept calling the Arkansas quarterback Justin Jefferson, right? That every week, I love this Jefferson kid. I love this kid. He's my kid. Like, he's so good, right? And then we all finally figured out that I'm talking about a wide receiver in the NFL. I'm not even like, we're not talking about
Minnesota.
we're not even, Vikings. We're not even talking about the same dude. So I think what makes this is like, we're real fans just like you are. I'm a real fan. And when we lose, I feel like crap. And I have a bad next day, usually 2 or 3 days. And really, I'm like, Trey, I just want to win ball games. I know this coach that we've got has only lost 12 games. He is a winner. He also had all 3 stars on this Washington team that went toe to toe with Michigan, right? So we're not talking about he was loaded with 5 stars that he got. He had 3 stars that he was able to get to compete at the highest level. And I'm going to tell you, the most interesting thing he did was how he beat Texas. So that's when I went back and watched that Texas game after we hired him. And I was like, Trey, Texas's defense was legit. Like,
it was nasty.
They were hitting, like, it was like a big time game. And I know it kind of came down to kind of maybe last possession a little bit, but still, he figured out a way to beat Texas, who figured out a way to beat me at home by 10 points.
For sure.
So I think this guy could be it, but we've got to give him time as a fan base. We cannot sit here and if we lose a game, just sit here and bash this guy. It's not going to do us any good, or we're going to turn into another Tennessee or Auburn with 52 head coaches in the past 8 years, Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we all lived through those as we call them, the dark ages.
Yeah.
And so I'm good with waiting 4 or 5 years to 6, maybe, if it takes it, right? Because I mean,
I don't want to take 13 or 14 like we did last time.
Just don't lose to Auburn or Tennessee.
Yeah, don't lose to Auburn. That's right.
Yeah, don't lose to Auburn. But here's the point. But here's what makes this more interesting. Well, now that we're in a 12-team playoff, you're actually going to be afforded a loss or 2. Mm-hmm. These seasons aren't going to be riding on every single win or loss. Now, don't get me wrong. You get late in the year and you already have a loss and there's other things going on. Yeah, those later in the games. But now all of a sudden, if you lose to a Georgia at home, you're not, white knuckling it the rest of the season. I mean, there's some wiggle room in here, right, which is going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. The SEC's only getting tougher, y'all. I mean, you got Texas and Oklahoma coming in. You've got Tennessee still playing.
Yeah.
So he's got some wiggle room. I think college football is about to change a lot with this new playoff. I think more teams are going to be in it. There's going to be more games that affect how you get in it. And we're going to have to see how it shakes out. Wendy, one thing about the Auburn football Tigers, I have to get this off my chest. So the producer of this show is an Auburn fan.
Yes.
And I watch the Auburn, this Hugh Freeze guy. And I'm just telling you, if he thinks the Thorne kid for the quarterback is the answer, and I'm not trying to bang on a player. I'm not, man. Thorne, go do your thing. I'm not. I watched their bowl game. This is the Auburn football Tigers. I watched their bowl game, Wendy, and I did not see, is it Peyton Thorne? I think it's Thorne. I did not see him throw one good pass.
None.
I'm talking about 0. Not 3 good passes. Nobody was open. In Hugh Freeze's offense, somebody's wide open at some point. I mean, that's the whole point of his offense, and I never saw him throw a good ball. If Auburn is relying on this guy, look out. Hugh Freeze could be in major trouble on the Plains, and I'm not just saying that. I mean, I really think I think the Hugh Freeze guy is walking a tightrope, and I don't like
don't you think everybody at Auburn is walking a tightrope? Let me just explain the legacy of Nick Saban. Nick Saban, because of Nick Saban, we had to change college football. All this crap, the 14 playoff, it's because nobody could get in. Nick Saban is the reason it got all changed. Then we've run through more coaches in the SEC, and they all got fired because they couldn't beat Saban. They all got fired because they couldn't beat us. LSU, Auburn, Tennessee's run through 100 of them, right? So the legacy of Nick Saban's not just, oh, great, we won a bunch of games and it was awesome and we had all these great players. He literally came in and made college football his bleep.
That's they fired Gus Malzahn, and Gus Malzahn was a winner.
And you know who loves Gus Malzahn? Trey. Trey loves Gus Malzahn. You have no idea,
call
Mike.
Boobs Malzahn because he always has some big chesties.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Like his wife lets him walk out of the house looking like that.
But listen, Mike, here's the crazy thing. He was able to beat Alabama and they fire him.
They fired him. They fired him.
You're going
because he couldn't do enough.
Yep, not good enough. And then they go hire Harrison and all that. So all I'm trying to say, Trey, is that at the end of the day, Auburn is on the same pattern that Tennessee went down, and it's just going to take like the right guy. I really did think Hugh Freeze was it, though. But after seeing some comments he's made, he talking about the portal, that he hates it, but he knows he's got to do it. Players are not coming to Auburn if you're complaining about the money in the portal. That anywhere. Look at Dabo Swinney. Look what he did. No. You know. So it'll be interesting. I don't think Auburn's got it either, Trey. I don't.
Yeah, I think they're going to really struggle unless this Freeze guy knows what he's doing. I think he might be in a little bit over his head right now. And here's the whole point. The whole point is you got to have a quarterback. I mean, you have to have a quarterback. I don't know that Auburn has that. All right, guys, we have got to wrap this up. Mike, it's been great having you on.
Yeah.
Any last parting words? Now, listen, we're probably not going to get on here for a little while. We typically don't do much in the off season. We've actually done a little bit more because Saban had retired. It's going to be a little bit while before we get back on. Mike, what do you have to say? Wendy, what do you have to say?
I mean, I'll start and just say, listen, everybody out there that's a Bama fan, you got to give this man some time. I mean, we were super spoiled with what we had. I don't know if most people we picked up more fans across the country based on what we did. They didn't even know about Alabama before we were there. So just give the guy some time and, roll fucking Tide.
There you go.
Roll Tide, Wendy.
Listen, first, thanks to all of the people, like basically our family and friends that get on here and listen to this. Me and Trey enjoy it. He really just does it for me. He's a good brother. He knows I love talking about this stuff. But listen, thank y'all for watching and engaging and commenting and coming on here with Nacho, Mike, our mom. Like, it is a lot of fun just to sit around and talk about something you're passionate about. So also, thank you guys. Y'all are awesome. But also, last thing, Trey, Ole Miss is going to be the team to beat. I'm calling it early so I can get ahead of all the combats. But here's the thing. He's going to ride or die with this team. If Kiffin has this much talent and can't figure it out, he ain't your guy. But if he's got this much talent, he should do really well with it. So for a preseason call, I'm calling Ole Miss, and I'm very thankful I ain't got to play them this year.
Well, yeah, Alabama doesn't play Winnie, but everybody's calling Ole Miss. But the problem with Ole Miss is Lane Kiffin can't win the big game. Well, guess what? He doesn't have to beat Saban anymore. So this might be Ole Miss's year. This could be Ole Miss.
He doesn't have to beat Saban anymore, Trey, but he only lost to Georgia and Alabama this past year.
Still Ole Miss. It's still Ole Miss.
That's what Trey.
All right, guys. Hey, listen, Roll Tide. We'll see y'all later. Listen, on YouTube, if you're on YouTube, like, subscribe, leave comments. Yeah. We'll write them out, and we'll be back on in another month or two when things start shaking out a little bit more. Thank y'all. See y'all later. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.
Bye, Mike. Bye, Trey. Love y'all.
Nice to meet y'all.
See y'all. All right.